Yo, guys, it's Kyle coming at you from Bain's Film Reviews. This is the fifth in my series of interviews, and I'm incredibly excited to have across from me Timothy Cox, who I've been fortunate enough to see a heck of a lot of his films. He's credited in more than 100 things on IMDb. Some things like Who is Elmore Dean, Choosing Sides, and his own personal project, which he wrote and directed, Live Health, which is one of his more recent projects that I'm very proud to have been a part of helping to promote. So, Tim, thank you so much for sitting across from me and taking some time out of your day to chat for a little while.
Thank you, Kyle. I'm happy to be here.
All right. So, how have you been? What's been going on?
Good. I mean, now I think, we've all sat on our couches enough and watched enough Netflix, and now we're at the point where getting back to work, which is, it's nice. Yeah, I went and I did a play this past summer. I did the stage version of Stephen King's
Yes.
Misery, and that was a blast. And got to work with good friends, and just to be in front of a live audience again, that was a real thrill. And then now I have film projects coming up in the new year, which is good way to start off the new year. But
Yeah,
and
yeah.
always, of course, every day is, you never know what every day is going to bring. So it's good to be able to say that, to be a working actor again.
Yeah, yeah. So I saw you promote Misery a couple different times, and
Yeah.
that was that out in Chicago?
That was out in Mill Hall, Pennsylvania, which is close
Okay.
to like State College.
Oh, okay.
And yeah, and I got to work with a good friend, one of my closest friends. We've done like 16, 17 plays together. And no, it was fun. It was challenging because,
Yeah.
the audience, they come in with the knowledge of not only the book, but of the very, very famous movie. And,
Mm.
we decided we did something different with it. But it was thrilling because I had a chance to say William Goldman's words, which anyone who knows, Princess Bride, Marathon Man, All the President's
Mm.
Men. I mean, just that that's something that I will always cherish.
Very cool, very cool. I wish that was a thing that I would have been able to come out and see, but that's a pretty good distance to travel.
We hope to do it again sometime. We hope to do it again, and I would definitely. I had a great time being tortured.
Very good. I'm sure he did a fantastic job. If it ever comes to be again, I'd love a chance to check it out.
Sure.
So just in the general scope of things, again, I said you've been credited in more than 100 things, which is incredible. Um, but how did you get into the business in the first place?
I started acting in the theater, and when I started, it was really as an excuse to get out of a class. When I was in eighth
Okay.
grade, I don't know any school that does this. They had auditions for the school play during the school day before math class, and I would have done anything to get out of math class. So I just auditioned for the school play to get out of class, got cast in the male lead, had no aspirations or desires to be an actor. I wanted to play third base for the Phillies. And I went in and auditioned. The director saw something, cast me, and I've been doing it ever since. And it's uh, it's been a fun ride.
Yeah, I'm sure that's one of the more interesting stories for sure. You got into it just as an excuse.
Anything to get out of math class. Yeah, I would have.
Oh,
I would have done anything.
I probably would have done just about anything but get up in front of a crowd. But that's no, it's fantastic. Um, and then so some of the things that when I think about the films that I've seen you in, Who is Elmore Dean comes to mind. That was one of the more interesting ones. I thought that was fantastic. Choosing Sides was
Mhm.
another one. And then more recently, which I haven't posted a review yet, I have a review for, just haven't posted it yet. It's Not You is one of
Ah.
my favorites.
Hmm.
Um, so you play a wide range of different characters. Like how, first of all, I have to imagine that takes somewhat of a toll on you, but maybe mentally, maybe physically, I don't know. What is it like trying to embody these different characters, many of which are different than you?
That's really why I'm an actor. You try to play play characters that are different from yourself, but have elements of your own personality in it.
Mm,
I mean, the character in It's Not You Um, very relatable, I mean, as a husband, although my marriage is much, much happier than that couple's, but also just, I think, I always respond to good material. And if the
Mm,
material is good, that makes it easier to play off of. And of course, when you have all of the other elements, your other actors. Um, but really, it's all about having variety. I mean, how I
mm,
do it. I mean, it's weird. It's just I think you just bring a lot of your own life experience to a project, and anything that you haven't lived, that's planet imagination.
okay. And like, how do you determine for you? I imagine it's different for every single actor, every writer, every director. How do you decide what's a good project?
It always comes down to the quality of the writing. The
Okay.
writing is, I mean, choosing sides, for example. I read that, and even for a 5 or 6 minute short, it was hysterically funny. It was hysterically
Mm,
funny on the page. And I thought, God, I said, this is going to, this may offend some people, but it's going to make them laugh too. And, but like that, like just, when you get your hands on good writing, it gets you excited, because
yeah.
as you, the actor, it it makes it easier, because all you have to do is trust that material, trust the material, trust the director, and it actually kind of makes it easier when the writing is really solid.
Okay. Okay. And so you mentioned you mentioned your marriage, and you post pictures all the time, and you guys look genuinely happy, good looking kid.
Thank you.
Um, of course. How do you manage to? So I don't travel. All right, I like not without my wife. So I can't imagine having to travel constantly without them. How do you maintain that balance between home life and work?
Well, it's helpful that my wife Jamie is formerly an actress, so she knows the life. She's very, very, very extremely supportive, and we're supportive of each other. And that's
Hmm.
really, the one thing that Jamie and I we found is that with a marriage is that it is about that give and take, that support, that partnership. I mean, she came out and saw Misery. She sat right in the front row for the final two performances, laughed a little more at the torture scenes than I would have liked, but but that's what it's about. I mean, when I was away doing Misery, we chatted and FaceTimed every day.
Okay.
Whenever I travel for a long period of time, I get emotional, just because it's I mean, Spencer, my son, he's at that age now where a lot of the big kind of memories,
Hmm.
moments in his life are happening. And thankfully, my wife, Jamie, always has her phone out. So a lot of the times I feel like I don't miss them.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think having that support, I think
Hmm.
it drives me to, strive and do everything I can.
Fantastic. Yeah, I mean, not many days, if any days, go by where I don't see a picture or two of you guys, and that's inspiring to see that someone can bring that much balance to the life for like for their family and stuff like that. Because I know when I come back after, I mean, I work for 7 hours and then I come back, I
Mhm.
know that I'm drained. So to be able to provide that sort of stability in maybe not always a very stable situation where you're
Mhm.
constantly on the go, you're constantly moving. That's
Yeah.
incredible.
Well, we like routine. I mean, we kind of have it down. And also I'm a little older, and I've reached, I mean, I got married later. I mean, I'm going to be 46 in a week or so, and like I think if I were in my 20s, it might be maybe it'll be a little different. But like the
Hmm.
fact that I am a little older, and I have kind of Jamie and I both like are very we're planners. So like
Yeah.
we plan things out, days or weeks in advance. And like if like this movie, I'm going to New York in March to work on a movie, and we're planning all of that, months in advance. So, we can plan around, okay, like, well, Spencer's activities, and, like stuff that Jamie has to do, and get all of that ironed out. And that helps immensely as well. And like, just knowing that, everything's going to be covered.
Very cool. Very cool. Yeah, seem to have all your bases covered for sure.
Absolutely.
Um, and then I want to get into live health because that was seemed to be the big thing. You wrote and directed and did all that kind of stuff, and it was, I imagine, incredibly challenging because we were right in the throes of a pandemic, and you tried to represent that on screen, try to represent something on screen that everybody understood. Rarely are we ever able to, or any filmmaker able to, put on a screen something that everyone relates to. And we were at a point in time where everyone could relate to it. How do you go about putting that on screen in a way that, while everybody knows it, it's still new, but it doesn't veer too much where people go, no, that's not how that works.
I think that, for all of us, the pandemic was, life altering. It certainly was for me. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
at the height of the pandemic, I suffered an anxiety attack. I mean, just in, and it scared the heck out of me. And I think not long after that, I thought about, how people, in certain jobs would go about their business, um, how doctors,
Yeah.
give care when they can't see certain patients in person. And I thought about, like, psychiatrists and shrinks, and I looked up of how, and there were a lot of people doing a lot of telehealth
Mm-hmm.
kinds of things. And the reason I'm wanting to do this was to do a project with Jamie, who is a very good editor and cinematographer, and it's something that we could have worked on together. And I gathered a bunch of my friends, and it was I wanted to see if I could do it. I had never directed a film before, and even with it being at 9 and 10 minutes, it was daunting. Like,
Yeah.
all of the because just all of the technical aspects of things, you learn a lot doing it. You learn, like, because you think you prepare for just about everything, and there's always 10 or 20 other things that, oh, I forgot that, like, but it was definitely a learning experience. But I'm very proud of the film, and
Yeah,
I'm
as
very
you should be.
proud of how it came out. Thank you. And I knew that also, that the one thing that I wanted to show was the toll that it not only takes on the patients, but it takes on the doctor as well, as it did,
Yeah.
you know, and me and you and everybody in the world, how that this this thing really, it deeply affected everything.
Yeah.
I mean, it was life altering.
Yeah, I mean, in the simplest of ways, I didn't know that Zoom existed before the pandemic hit,
Yeah.
and instantly, because I teach, they go, "Oh, you're gonna hop on Zoom and you're gonna teach your kids on Zoom." And I thought, well, what the hell is Zoom? I don't know what that is. I
Yeah.
don't know. I don't know how to do this. And it was my first year in a public school,
Oh,
so
wow.
yeah, so we hit. I didn't even have a full year in, and they go, "You're gonna teach on Zoom now." I was like, I'm just learning how to teach in person, so
And
that was
everything
different.
everything is different. I mean, like, I was a tour guide in New York City for almost 15 years, and when we left New York and moved to Ohio, the reason behind that was, I said, well, I knew, the jobs that I do, actor and tour guide, are at the bottom of the list of
Hmm.
priorities. And so we got out of, New York and came to Ohio, and I worked in a doctor's office, in a dermatology office for almost a year, and then eventually got this nice work from home job that is nice thing that I'm able to take onto film sets. But yeah, it changed everything, because it's
Yeah.
like, in certain industries, like, you didn't know if tourism in New York or anywhere was going to happen again, or if, how teachers were going to be affected, or
Yeah.
all industries. We never knew if Broadway was going to come back. I mean,
Hmm.
or concerts, or stand-up comedians, or anything like that. It was just there was the thing that was fearful, and one of the things that I tried to inject into live health was the feeling of uncertainty. That's the thing that,
Yeah.
in suspense and horror films and thrillers, that's the thing that's always kind of, like, keeps me on the edge of my seat, like the uncertainty of,
Yeah.
like, of what tomorrow is going to be. I mean,
Hmm.
and yeah, that was, oof,
Yeah.
hard to
And
believe.
and a lot of us keep saying we're past it or we're back to the normal. I don't think there ever is going to be a normal again. It's just it's all shifted drastically. Even the things like Zoom is now a regular thing
Yeah.
in school. It's just a normal thing. Even though we're back in person, we have a pilot program where we have kids in a program that Zoom into other history classes as a means of education, and that's just a normal thing now.
Yeah.
That's
When
yeah.
the pandemic was really, when we first moved to Ohio, I did, play readings and script readings all through Zoom, and for like a
Hmm.
good year and a half or so, that was the norm. And it was certainly not the same as, being in a room doing, in a theater, but the communal aspect of it, the idea that for 2 hours I didn't have to watch the news or and I could just do Shakespeare or
Right.
do a David Mamet play, and and think about a character. That was great and therapeutic as well.
Yeah.
But yeah, now I don't think there is a going back. I think there really is only a going forward. A lot of industries have have changed. I mean, you've really seen what people are made of by
Oh
taking
yeah.
what's happened and you know moving forward as best they can, and that's something extraordinary.
Hmm. And then playing again on that kind of, well, that suspensefulness, what's going to happen next? We don't know what's going to happen next. In live health, we obviously leave on a pretty somber note. But how did you make sure not to kind of step over that line and leave everybody thinking, well, damn, like this is just sucks. Like there's no positives, because I think you towed the line between being too pessimistic with leaving just an ounce of hope in there somewhere where there's still answers. There's still something out there for everyone where you were still able to sit down with someone and talk and chat like that. How did you make sure not to go too far is my question.
I think the big thing is that, like, the wonderful thing is, like, and I Heidi, who played the doctor, I chose her specifically because she has that warm, welcoming voice, that
Hmm.
she is the voice of hope. And not like for him, like, like I kind of wanted to leave it where you kind of wonder where the conversation's going to go, and where, if he's
Hmm.
going to be, and if all of the patients are going to be okay. I mean, I think at the time when I was thinking about the film, I never had any, I didn't think, I don't think I thought like far ahead, like what happens to him. I
Yeah.
think I just kind of, tomorrow is another day. That was really the only thing I kind of thought, like, tomorrow's another day, like, and hopefully as time goes on, things will get better.
Okay. And then, aside from Heidi, what does that casting process look like? How do you determine that these people can act through video? I mean, I know that they're just essentially, a lot of them are acting just through video, but like how do you go about determining whether or not these people are the people for the roles?
These specific actors are all friends. These
Okay.
are all actors, and I specifically chose them because of, like, Nancy Kellogg. She has this very soft but very nurturing voice. Matt Harris, exuberant, energetic, but then can pull it back and, like, can shock you, like, punch you like a punch in the gut.
Hmm.
Becca also the same thing, like, very energetic. And Bob has that wonderful, that resonant, like almost like, old classic radio voice. So I
Hmm.
wanted like a variety in the types of voices and personalities. Plus I knew also that they're all fantastic actors and wonderful people, that they
Yeah.
were, and they just jumped into it with gusto. And I'm very pleased with, and I'm proud to have them been a part of the project.
Yeah. Yeah. Very cool. Um, so like you said, you'd never directed before. This is
No.
really your first opportunity to direct. I feel like things went smoothly. I mean, on our end, the viewers, it looks like things went smoothly. We obviously don't know all the things that went on behind the scenes,
I
and the
owe it all to Jamie. Jamie is the one who, with the editing and all of that. And no, I mean, she's the one that deserves all of the credit.
Fantastic. Like, what were the biggest obstacles? I mean, obviously, I know that there's some new guidelines and things that you had to deal with during COVID and things like that. What was the biggest obstacle in creating this film?
I think just at first, you know, I wanted to make sure that I didn't speak as much. I only speak once, I think, at the
Mm,
end, and like I wanted the character presented through body language and listening and interacting. And
mhm.
I think Jamie initially, she wasn't real sure about that, but then when she played back and finally realized that was what we were doing, because that's kind of a risk where you
Yeah,
have the sort of like the main focus of the movie doesn't say much, but vocally, but you could actually see he does say much, like, because he says a lot with you know his body language, his face,
sure.
and all of that. And I want that's what I wanted to convey, that he is very devoted to his listeners, and that in
Hmm.
the end, when you see the turn, that, oh, this is someone who himself is hurting. And
Yeah,
so I wanted that he I wanted that twist, I guess.
right. Was there ever a point when you thought maybe I shouldn't be the lead in this, that maybe someone else should take the reins in that regard?
I thought of that. I think because of out of necessity. I mean, at the time, we were still in the throes of COVID. I don't think there was any actor that in the area that I could have called who, I think that would have been complicated, like to
Okay.
try and like set up a filming schedule with another actor with COVID still raging pretty hard at that time.
Okay. And don't misunderstand my question. I'm not saying that you shouldn't have been the lead, because you
Oh,
were
sure.
fantastic. You were fantastic. So I don't want you to
Thanks.
misunderstand that question at all. Um, so then more in the broad scope, beyond the live health thing in general, what do you find to be the most challenging aspect of acting?
I trying to find projects that are challenging and
Hmm.
interesting. I mean, I've reached the age where I want projects that scare me. Like,
Okay.
I mean, Live Health was scary because in a way, because the character was something that I could have I related to
Mm,
Peter in a way, just because of my own battles with the anxiety uh, through that whole thing. But the thing that you're always looking for, any actor will tell you, is that you're always looking for challenges. You're
okay.
always looking for things that stretch you as an actor. Um, I've been lucky to have been able to do this for more than half my life, and you want the things that challenge you, because they're the things that, like, that make you keep asking the questions, and um, the mystery to this whole thing. Because
Sure.
you never find, I don't know any actor that has ever played a part and said that's the best I've ever done it. You could
Hmm.
always have another rehearsal, another performance, another take. Um, I mean, Gene Hackman said something really interesting about film acting. He said, "You never buy the whole thing; you buy like little fragments." And I
Okay.
am, I believe that in a way. It's like, and that's you could always reach out and do something else. You can always challenge yourself, which is that's the big thing that I'm always looking for.
Sure. And I imagine that as an actor, you're typically your own harshest critic. Um,
Yeah, yeah. I often, I mean, the thing is, it's like, I think in the theater more, like when I was doing Misery, there were moments that I felt like, no, Tim, too much, pushing a little too much, like you're acting too much. Whereas film, I think if like I've learned to just trust, trust you know, my reliance is on the other actor. My performance comes
mhm,
from the other actor, and listening and reacting to them.
mhm,
But the key thing is that if you are prepared, the more prepared you are, the more relaxed you are. And when you are relaxed, that's when you can create. And maybe
Okay.
that's like my thing. It's like I've become so relaxed that I hesitate to say that it comes easy, because it most definitely does not. It takes you a long time to get to a place where you can feel relaxed and comfortable. And
Hmm.
I still get the butterflies from. I was doing a movie last month, and I said to one of the actors, and I said, you know what? No matter how many times I do this, I still get the butterflies. Not butterflies of nerves, but the butterflies of anticipation and grateful. Like, I am grateful that I am able to do this, because the reality is there's more actors out there than there are parts available. And so if
Hmm.
someone chooses me for their project, I'm just grateful.
Very cool. Very cool. And I would imagine that that anticipation and those butterflies are necessary. I felt like if you got too comfortable, then maybe you wouldn't be your best self out there.
There's a one of my favorite stories about actors getting nervous. And Jeff Bridges tells this story. He was doing the film version of The Iceman Cometh from 1973, and he's
Hmm.
working with Lee Marvin and Frederick March and Robert Ryan. And he has this scene with Robert Ryan, and they're sitting at a table and they're setting up the lights. And Robert Ryan's got his hands on the table like this. And John Frankenheimer, the director, says, "Okay, guys, we're going to shoot one." And Robert Ryan takes his hands away, and there's a puddle of sweat, like just right there in front of him. Jeff Bridges is like, Bob, like, you've been doing this for 40 years. Like, you still get nervous? And Robert Ryan said the truest line. He said, "I'd be nervous if I wasn't nervous." And that's true.
Hmm.
And it's like, that is absolutely 100% true. It's like, you go on and you be prepared. You get nervous, not because it's like lack of confidence or anything like that, but the nerves of, like, it's those nerves of anticipation. You just because on a film set, you're sitting around for 15, 16-hour long days. And a lot of time is just waiting and making and taking care of yourself. And when your time comes, you got to be ready. And so, be as prepared as possible. But I always love that story.
That has to be one of the hardest parts. That sitting around and waiting till your numbers called. Uh, yeah.
I've read a lot of books. I've read a lot of books, and of course, you have conversations with other actors. I mean, there's always someone off, playing a sport, like listening to a sporting event, or when the presidential election was going on, we were all
Hmm.
waiting for those returns as coming in. But yeah, like, you got to take care of yourself on a film set. It's really like conditioning of an athlete. You got to get yourself into a zone of, like, be prepared, and but be open. And because things on film sets change all of the time,
Hmm.
because of all sorts of things. And so you just got to roll with the punches.
Okay. And what so far has been the most rewarding aspect of all of this?
The fact that in let's see, I graduated from college in 1999. The fact from then to now, I have been able to call myself a working actor, which is important, because a lot of actors don't work,
Hmm.
for whatever reasons. And so, and the extent of my ambitions was that all I've ever wanted to be was a good supporting working actor. I never wanted to be a movie star. I never wanted to be.
Hmm.
And so I'm happy to say that that I'm a working actor, and I'm still a student at it. I think that's
Yeah.
one of the rewarding aspects of it, is that I'm still learning. I mean, if you go into this work with the mentality of being a student and being open and being available, you learn not only things about this work, but you learn things about life and about yourself. And that's a great reason. That's a great reason to do this work.
Yeah, I try to learn something new every day. That doesn't always happen, but that's one of the things that I like about film is there's always something in there that I have no idea what they're talking about, and I have to do a little bit of research. So I really
Yeah.
enjoy that aspect of it for sure. And I don't want to put you on the spot, but do you have a favorite project? Something that you've worked on that is he just stands above the rest, in your opinion?
I have a God, I can't get it down to one. Choosing Sides is a favorite.
Okay.
Choosing Sides is a favorite. That was a lot of fun. I did a film with Matthew Mailer a couple of years ago called To Be Alone that that is very close in my heart. But yeah, all of them. I mean, even the ones that don't work, there's something because I learned something from them, and and there are ones that I mean, sure, there are some that ones that I'm not enamored of. There are ones that I look at and I thought, Tim, no, 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 not your best day. But then again, that's the critical, the critical me. But every once
Yeah.
in a while, there's some like I'll catch a moment and I thought, well, God, that's not bad. But but that's every actor. Like you watch something like, well, that's terrible. Well, that's not bad. Well, that's not, and so like every once in a while you get like these little fragments, little moments
Mm,
that are either that are not bad. So and I think I'll take those little fragments because with
yeah.
that, it still drives me to want to do this.
Cool.
It outweighs
Cool.
the negatives.
Yeah, I think that's a good answer. A little bit of everything, basically.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. Um, and then kind of to wrap it up, I like to ask this question. It's maybe relevant, it's maybe not. What are some of just in general some of your favorite films, and how have they inspired you through your acting, or maybe they haven't, maybe just that you just love these films, and but I'm curious.
Wow. The first movie that I ever saw that I ever became enamored of a movie, when I first saw The Godfather,
Okay.
I think I was maybe 9 or 10. My parents used to have The Godfather on the old RCA video disc. It was the thing before VHSs came out. And I remember my uncle, when my parents would go out, my uncle would come and he would babysit my younger brother and I, and we were supposed to go to bed. And he would put on The Godfather, and I would sit on the steps and listen to, the opening music, and then I would hear,
Mm,
Brando, and I thought, God, what is going on in this movie? And then when I finally saw it, of course, like, and I just watched it again the other night.
okay.
That movie, to me, is the perfect movie. I don't think there's a thing wrong with it. It's almost 3 hours. It doesn't feel like it. But
Mm,
that's the first movie that like I became enamored of. The movie that made me want to become an actor and decide that I want to be an actor was Jack Lemmon's performance in Days of Wine and Roses.
okay.
That was the one. That and Donald Sutherland in Ordinary People. I remember like just wow, I want to do that. Like I want to have moments like that. I want to,
Mm,
like and Lemon, especially Jack Lemmon and Spencer Tracy and Jason Robards and actors like that. Albert Finney is another one I admired. They um they were actors that they always brought a lot of themselves into the roles. And I mean
okay.
Lemon especially, I mean you watch he's very familiar as the characters are
Mm,
very familiar. The character of Baxter in The Apartment or Save the Tiger or even Shelley the Machine Levine in Glengarry Glen Ross. We know these people. We know them,
mm,
and like we either sympathize with them or it's like we just scratch our head and like though I thought, God, I want to do that. I want to play parts like that. I want to work with directors like that and high quality of writing like that. And
yeah.
but now I tend to go back to the classics. Another one, a movie that I love, The Sting. The Sting is just an entertaining, fun movie. I used to watch that almost on a loop when I was in high school. And
Mm,
matter of fact, I was playing the Marvin Hamlish music today as I was working, and my wife came in and made fun of me playing because she hears it as the ice cream jingle, and it's like the entertainer is like, but no, it's
yeah.
like no, it's the Sting. But and then of course, I mean, I'm just a big fan of movies in general. Like
Sure.
I'll watch movies from classic movies. I love the indies, anything that the Coen brothers do. Um, you know, give me a Spencer Tracy film, and I mean, I'll see his whole catalog of movies. But movies in general, And I learned a lot of my education as an actor. I mean, I went to school for acting, but when I was in high school, there used to be a video store in where I grew up in Delaware, where you would go in and they had that you could rent videos for 99 cents. So I
Hmm.
would walk out with a stack of movies every weekend. And what I would do is like I would pick an actor one weekend. Like one weekend I would pick Paul Newman and I would pick like 6 Paul Newman films.
Uh-huh.
And I would watch them movies in the order that the actor made them. So I would start from
Okay.
like, you know, Cat on a Hot Tin Roof to Nobody's Fool and watch the development of an actor. And then I would do the
Hmm.
same thing with like Vanessa Redgrave or Katharine Hepburn or Kathy Bates or and I learned. It was kind of like going to school and learning, like taking a master class. And
Yeah.
as much as I love the education I received, I always go back and I always credit that experience of just watching movies and going to the theater and watching television, and I always credit that as being the thing that was that's been the most helpful to me
Hmm.
in my own development as an actor.
And so I'm sure I've talked to you about this before. I'm just like the worst film critic because I haven't seen 90% of the movies you just listed. um, and so The Godfather is interesting because I've seen The Godfather. I was in my early teens. I watched it with my grandparents, and I hated it. But
uh,
it was before I got into film. So I really need to rewatch it. I need to rewatch it because I know I'll appreciate it more now. And I watched bits and pieces of The Offer with my in-laws, and very interesting. But I feel like I needed to see the films and appreciate them a little bit better to be able to appreciate The Offer.
yeah, the I thought the offer was really, really well done, and like it was interesting also of how the making of the movie, but of how movies were made in those days. They don't make movies like that anymore.
No, no.
Not only that way, but like a movie like Chinatown. Or have you seen Chinatown? Or
God, no, I haven't.
oh my God, I got to give you a list. Like like Chinatown or The Last Detail or all of the. I mean, I could do 2 hours just on the movies of Hal Ashby. But like they don't make movies like that anymore. I mean,
Right,
like if Godfather were made today, they couldn't make it the way the risk that they took.
right.
I mean, same thing with like Chinatown or One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest or what have you.
Hmm.
It's just a different time, but
Right.
yeah.
But yeah, I have all of these, and I haven't even seen all of these. They, so we for a long time, Steph and I,
But you've seen plenty of movies, and I have a chance to thank you for your support of not only my films but of all films. The thing is, and your output, it seems like every day, like review, like you're just spitting them out all of the time. It's like it's extraordinary your output.
well, thank you very much. I have a bunch that I just need to edit and then post. I probably have about 100 that I've written that I just don't have the time to post them.
My
Um,
God,
I mean, so during COVID, I sat there and I just watched and I watched and I watched because I wasn't working like I would have normally been gone for
sure,
7 hours. So I was up at 7 o'clock in the morning and I was going to bed at midnight and I was watching 4 or 5 movies every single day.
wow, and
And I've just never been able to catch up. I've written reviews for all of them. I've just been unable to catch up. Um, I'm in the middle of writing a review for Mail Time, um, and I watched that on Tuesday. So
that was fun. That was a fun one to work on. That was a
yeah,
fun one. I did not know that the filmmaker was going to use a clip from a Paul Giamatti, Edward Norton film,
it's
but
such a fantastic film too.
yeah, it's and that's. But I thought like I said, you're going to get sued. I was like, I don't want to get sued by Paul Giamatti. I want to work with him someday.
Right. Yeah,
But
that's a fantastic movie, and I feel like that paralleled very well with the direction that the film was trying to go, the direction that Mail Time was trying to go. So
yeah,
that was very cool. And yeah, I didn't expect that to be thrown into the middle there. And it's not just like a 10-second clip. It's a
no, it's.
pretty
I mean,
bulky
it's a
clip.
pretty like oh they're just going to show like I remember when I saw that and I said to the director and I said did anyone say anything to you about you know copyright infringement. I would think in film school that's kind of a big thing that
Yeah.
but but the film studio has not come after that director yet, and I haven't gotten any phone calls. So
Well, I hope it stays that way.
yeah.
um, but so where can people find you specifically? Where can they find Live Health? Because I want people to be able to watch that and appreciate that the way that I did.
Sure. Live Health is available on YouTube. If you just type in Live Health and my name, Timothy J. Cox, that should pop right up. It's only about 10 minutes. I'm actually thinking of also, I think eventually I would post it directly on the film's IMDb page.
Okay.
And in fact, I might do that this weekend. But yeah, no, it's definitely on the net,
All
on
right.
the web.
I'll add a link on the on
Thank
my
you.
site so that
Appreciate
they
that.
can get to it fairly easy.
Yeah.
And then what else are you working on?
Let's see. I'm going to be heading to New York in March to work on a very, very funny comedy called Static Cling with Steve Lifshee, who you saw his film Life on Pause.
Hmm.
And he is now also in the process of putting together a feature film version of Life on Pause, which I hope to be a part of.
Very cool.
And yeah, just a lot of other projects in development. There's a Western that I hope to be working on, a vampire film. And, other than that, just out there hustling and auditioning like every other actor.
Yeah. Well, best of luck on all of those. I hope you get the ones you want, and I hope you find more good ones. Um,
Thank you, Kyle.
and again, I can't thank you enough for taking some time. I know I told you like between 25 and 40 minutes. We went over that a little bit.
Ah, no
Um,
worries. It's a pleasure to talk to you. I mean, you've been extremely supportive over the years, and it's been nice to chat with you.
well, it's my pleasure to support those films. They've been fantastic. I've enjoyed every minute of it. So, and when you're in New York, if you have a spare second, I'm just south in New Jersey. So, if we get a chance, I'd love to meet up and chat some more.
Absolutely, absolutely. I like that.
All right. Great conversation. Fantastic sitting down with you and talking. Again, ladies and gentlemen, this is Tim Cox. I'd like to consider him a friend. He's done a fantastic job sending me a huge number of films that I've been able to promote, and check them all out. Check out Live Health, and stay tuned for more.
Thank
Thanks
you.
so much. Have a good one.
You too.
Bye.